Hey everybody, welcome back to the Centerville Grace Podcast, where every single week we do our very best to help you, our church family, dive deeper into community to make sure that no one walks alone. Friends, welcome back.
Hey, we're back.
We always like to start the podcast off with some things coming up in the life of the church. Dusty, what do we got going on this weekend? Special events, not at our church. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, we are going to declare God's goodness at Declare Centerville.
We saw
He's here all day, guys.
That's
here all
right.
day.
That's right. That is at Centerville High School at 10 a.m. We do not have service this week. If you show up at Centerville Grace Church, there's not going to be,
You will be alone.
as my grandma used to say, ain't nobody going to be here.
Ain't
all right.
nobody gonna be.
So we are all going to be at Centerville High School. We're expecting a pretty hefty crowd. So try to get there a little bit early if you can. I suggest getting there like 9:30 to get a good seat. Bring an umbrella if you are sun averse and porcelain skinned like I am. And just be ready to have an awesome time. We're joining with a whole bunch of other area churches, and it's going to be a giant celebration.
Love it. Love it. So excited. Last year was an incredible success, and we anticipate God to move even in greater ways this year. The weekend after that, we begin a brand new series. Dave, tell us a little bit about what to expect on September 7th.
Yeah, the series is going to be called Within Reach. We're going to be talking about our vision for our next generation, because if we hope to reach the next generation, we need to start with our next generation. So we need to start within the church. And so we're going to be talking about why it's so important to be able to pass the baton off well to the students and to the kids. And so first week we'll be doing more with the high school and junior high. Then second week will be more elementary school. But
And I heard a rumor that there's going to be a special announcement about some things happening in the church, specifically in what we call Grace Kids, that are going to get shared during this sermon series.
Yeah. So I know Jen and the team they've been working really hard on kind of revamping some of the things to make our Grace Kids experience that much better. And so maybe some rebranding along with that, some new name and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be really good.
Love it. And then September 17th, make sure you mark your calendars for Vision Night. That'll happen in the main worship center. We're going to talk about the Thrive campaign.
Yep.
We're going to talk about where we're going, where we've been.
Yep.
And how are we doing at a church, making sure that no one walks alone. So please plan on attending September 17th. So 3 things in the month of September that are big, huge things. We can't wait to see you guys there. Because after all, it's all about community.
It's all about community.
It's all about reading and...
I see what you did there.
See?
I see what you're doing there. Yep.
It's called a transition.
That's right.
Tell us about this week's sermon, the idea of looking at the lens of Scripture communally.
Yes. So this is our last lens. This is 4 of 4. I'm sure there's plenty of other lenses that we could talk about.
Sure, run through all 4 again, just for the
Yeah.
church fam.
Yeah, we said that we need to read the Bible incarnationally, which means we need to understand the Bible was written both by human authors as well as inspired by God. So there's a divine and human element that play together. We talked about the second week, we need to read the Bible transfigurally, which means we need to be able to see the glory of God in the face of Christ throughout the whole of Scripture. Last week, we talked about reading the Bible formationally as far as wisdom literature and really just kind of being shaped and formed by the stories and the poetry and even the rules and the teachings that are all in there to be more like Jesus and to navigate life in a wise, discerning way, as the way he was able to do so. And then which leads us to this week as far as reading the Bible communally, which is really important because this is something that we don't, I think, naturally default to in our individualistic society anymore. Yeah.
Dusty, what's your experience with communal Scripture reading? How do you lean into it? Is it something you're good at? Kind of after listening to yesterday's sermon, what's some of your self-assessment around this topic?
Yeah, I think that, Dave, you mentioned it a lot during your message that we read the Bible very personally and very individually, like you said. And that's a beautiful thing. It's like, think back to, pre-Reformation, where Scripture was not in the hands of everybody. Understanding of Scripture was in the hands of, hey, you had to trust the priests, that they were giving you the right interpretations of what this meant for your life. And pros and cons to everything, right? When you're looking through the lens of history.
Yeah.
Awesome that after that post-Reformation, we get the Bible back into our hands. Anybody can read it. Downside of that potentially is that we, through our Western culture individualistic lens, read everything as it pertains to us, and not everything is directly ascribed to us, but we're still meant to learn from it. So there's a beauty in hearing, like coming to a message on Sunday morning and hearing you preach from scripture. Like that is the way that we practice it today. We are expected to kind of read our Bibles throughout the week and what we called, or what you called, quiet time, reflection time.
Yeah.
And there's a beauty to that, but I love the fact that we can come together as a church and, you know, somebody who has been to seminary and who really, you know, we believe understands what God's giving you as a message to give to the rest of the people. And we're learning together from what you are telling us because God laid that on your heart for our church. So all that to say, like, there's a beauty to it. Like I want myself to continue reading scripture by myself and to myself, but like there's power in doing it within the lens of community.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things about communal Bible reading is that I love hearing what most of the people that I read with are guys. So what other guys are pulling from the text, right? That different vantage point, that different perspective. One of the ways that I use the YouVersion Bible app is for communal Bible reading.
Yeah.
And I do that often with guys that I'm discipling, and
It's a great tool.
it's a great tool. It's a great tool. Now, here's the thing. I wouldn't say it's pure communal because it's not very dialogue centered. It's more just reflective. So it's sharing, but it's not discussion.
And accountability.
Yeah, and accountability.
See
for
who's
sure.
reading and not reading. And
Yeah.
Yep.
How do you lean into communal scripture reading?
Yeah, I think there's different ways of looking at it. I mean, you could obviously be sitting down with a person or a group of people and opening up the Bible and reading it and talking about it, and I think that's great. And I think that's actually a great way to do some evangelism at times, where if you have somebody who's not yet a believer, inviting the opportunity to read the Bible together and helping them see it for the first time and walk through some questions is always good. The Bible discovery method questions are always good. Disciple making is good like that. So there's that element that is just, there's a richness to reading live with people. But also we have, as I mentioned, a global community and a historical community. And so when you're reading authors, when you're reading commentaries, when you're reading, old sermons or whatever those all can feed into that, helping you kind of open up your eyes and widen your lens as far as what the scriptures are saying and how to look at it.
One of the things I was curious about, I'd be interested in both of your opinions on it, is how do you protect your lens of scripture, right? How do you know who should get a voice into that process and who doesn't, right? Like one of the things that you said yesterday was that, historical community keeps us from reading too broadly, right? It gives us guardrails so that we don't kind of go off the road, but then the global community keeps us from reading too narrowly in the sense that it widens the lens. And you use the prodigal son as an example for that. How do you safeguard the people that speak into your scripture reading?
Yeah, that's a really hard question to answer because I like to listen to a little bit from everybody. And like I go on YouTube very often to listen to perspectives I know I disagree with because I want to know what those perspectives are, because in my head, that's going to help me either reinforce my own beliefs. Usually that's what it does. But then I know why I'm reinforcing those beliefs. With any of us, we have denominational boundaries, we have traditional boundaries. Like I want to know what has the church traditionally believed, and even that's going to be skewed to some degree, right?
Sure.
Like if you are coming from a Catholic background, you're going to have certain interpretations of certain scriptures, and that's going to be based on the history of what the church has given you over these last years. So like even in the Catholic Church, hey, tradition is a big thing because tradition in and of itself is a safeguard to interpreting the Bible in an errant way. Do you agree with that? You come from a Catholic background. I don't.
Sure.
But I know that I come from a little bit more of a kind of Wesleyan-ish background. So like there are certain things that we have traditionally believed that when I look at the lens of scripture, I'm looking through this Wesleyan quadrilateral of, scripture, reason, tradition, all this fun stuff. So I don't know. All I'd say, I don't know how to answer that question because you have to know what your beliefs in God are in the first place.
Sure.
And that's going to define your systematic theology, which is also how you interpret scripture as you read it back to yourself. right? You're always looking for what lens does this fit in, because I have a worldview and a theological view that I'm bringing into it as a presupposition. And then what we all do with theology to some degree is, once we know what those beliefs are, then we're always looking to reinforce it and figure out how this reinforces it. And that determines how our hermeneutic is formed.
Yeah.
It's complicated, right?
I mean, it's messy, but if you think of like a child, same way as far as a child needs a lot more black and white, foundational, concrete things to begin their learning process. Then over time, they learn more of nuance, and they learn more there's gray and there, and how to decipher between. And they can make up their own minds as far as there's good voices on either side. And as adults, we pick and choose that way then a little bit more. And so I think if you're a brand new Jesus follower, you need the more black and white stuff, the foundation laid, and over time, then, the more nuanced stuff can come. But I think you need to have some trusted voices. That's why disciple making, I think, is so helpful, and having someone walk alongside of you early on to be a trusted voice, to say that's orthodox, or that is not anywhere near orthodox. So, to help.
Yeah, when you say orthodox,
Yeah.
what do you mean by that?
Yeah, going back to the traditional viewpoints that have been held
We call
by
the historic church.
the historic church, the historic teachings, the historic doctrine that has been held for 2,000 years now.
Yeah, I always think that if someone's coming from a very different angle than the historic church, I'm less likely to trust it.
Yeah.
Right? Like if all the saints who have gone before me are like, saying we read it this way, and somebody from 2025 is like, I read it this way. I'm like, well, that's just that's where the nuanced approach I think is really important.
If someone's coming and saying, I don't really think Jesus was actually fully God or fully divine, right? That would be something like, well, that's so far off from what the churches historically have held, or like the virgin birth wasn't real, like the foundational things that we would, all of us would say, it's clear in the scriptures, it's right there. And so,
which we pull from like the Apostles' Creed or something like that. It would
Something
be really,
like that,
what is orthodoxy? It's like, okay, if I can affirm what's kind of in the Apostles' Creed, that's kind of a generic view of orthodoxy.
Yeah, and that's why they do that. That's why they have done those things in the past, to kind of lay the foundational groundwork, so where those boundary lines are. Yeah.
And I think one of the things that we see, especially in mainline Protestantism, is because so much of tradition is often not used as a disciple making tool as it could be, right? I actually believe that the creed is a pretty decent part of the disciple making toolbox, right? When you think about teaching someone the creed teaches them some of the things that we have believed historically throughout time. Like in mainline Protestantism, one of the things that's often, because we skewed away from tradition so hard, that we lose some of that along the way.
Yeah.
And so I think we see over and over again the desire to take the discussion around faith from a monologue to a dialogue. Mm-hmm. And I really think that's at the heart of the message that you preached yesterday, that reading the Bible is a team sport.
Team sport. Yep, for sure.
Team sport. So let's say that you feel like you don't have a team.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe you're new to our church. Maybe you've got a grandkid who is not engaged in the faith, and you want to kind of evangelize a little bit and get them on. How do we begin to break down some of those barriers
of getting people on our team?
Yeah, on our team, and being on both ends, right? Because I think the people who probably listen to this podcast are going to be our core church family, right? If you tune in every week, first of all, thank you. And you're probably pretty committed. So maybe I'm thinking about that person who's like, I don't know that I have a team. And also, I don't know that some of the people in my life who I care about have a team. How do we navigate that?
Yeah. I think it's the first is easier than the second.
Yeah, for sure.
If you don't have a team, we have plenty of teammates around here that would love to probably get you on their part of their team as far as a life group or disciple making, as I said, in those kind of places. If you know of somebody who's not on a team and it depends on their level of wanting to engage the Bible, but Again, I really believe one of the best tools that we have and the best strategies we have for evangelism is we're trying to get people to Jesus and not help them understand who he is. And so when they read the words for themselves, as far as who Jesus claimed to be and what he's done and what he said and what he taught, they actually read the gospel with them. Say, I would love to read the gospels with you. I read, John or Luke. I would love for that. And if you can invite yourself into that space with them and they start reading the Bible together with you, I think we've seen the stats are incredible as far as them coming to faith and then continue on in their faith. So laying that great groundwork. So that's where I would start with somebody, just offering, hey, if you're ever curious about Jesus, let's go to the source. Let's go look at it in the scriptures together. Yeah.
Dustin, any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're looking at, let's just take us as a church, for example, probably the least team-oriented place within our funnel is a Sunday morning, right? Sunday morning, we are congregational, but we're a big team, not a small team, right? As we move down the funnel, and this is how we kind of do a pathway at our church, as we move down the funnel, the next place is like a life group. That's a great place to kind of be a part of a team. When we want to switch more from monologue learning into dialogue, let's learn together. Yeah. And then that lowest, most intimate version is the disciple-making one-to-one relationship, or it could be 2-to-1 or 3-to-1. But getting in that small group setting, let's go meet at a coffee shop or somebody's house, and let's just read scripture together. Let's chew on it. Let's argue about it. Let's just dig into the scripture. Like, there's no downside to finding somebody else just to be a partner in digging into scripture with you.
I love it. I think it's so important to lean in. And one of the things that you mentioned that I think is also crucial is that you can incentivize some family reading time around scripture, right? You can, and my kids are all a little bit older, but one of the things that we've done in the past is read a Bible plan together. And then I'll bribe my kids a little bit to get them to respond, right? Because I'm like, hey, if you guys respond enough time, ice cream or whatever, right? Whatever will work. Whatever works, because I'm trying to get them to dialogue through the text so that I can also judge where they are spiritually, right? Like, because it's not hard for someone who you love to be off the rails and you not know it. Yeah. It's real easy. So I kind of love that. And I actually love that we talked about reading the Bible communally on a family Sunday. So that kind of leans into some of the kid stuff. How was the family Sunday experience for you? Second time?
Yeah, second time. Yeah, love our kids.
Getting easier every time.
Maybe. This was really to be up front. This was written prior to knowing that it was going to be Family Sunday, and so if you could tell, it was a little bit more geared towards adults than kids. And so, but I really appreciate our kids, especially the up front. They were really engaged with me and wanting to answer questions. So I love we have hungry kids here. So love the fact that they're in there and we get to sing and dance and learn scripture together. So yeah,
it's good.
Yeah.
Dusty, prayer requests as we head into Declare Week.
Yeah, really, we don't have a ton of people from our church that, have responsibilities, things like that, but we're still in the midst of a lot of planning from the few of us that do. There's still a lot of logistics we have to work through, but at the end of the day, man, we want to see a big movement happen in the city of Centerville. We want to see people that come out from our communities that will just show up at an event like that because they see that something's going on and might not have any idea what they're even walking into. So my biggest prayer request is just that God would be glorified by what we're doing, that they would hear something. Doesn't matter what church they want to be a part of, even if they have been in any of those churches that represent. I just want them to hear, number one, that we're unified, that we're all on, speaking of teams, like we're all on Team Jesus. We all want them to have a relationship with him. And we believe that's the best thing for our communities that we operate within. So just prayers for hearts to be softened, for those that don't know what they're walking into, to maybe hear something that will absolutely change their life.
So good. Well, next week, no podcast next week, Labor Day and Declare kind of combining on the two makes it easier for us just to take the week off of the podcast. We do hope and pray that you'll join us out there at Centerville High School Stadium this Sunday, and then the following Sunday, September 7th, as we kick off our vision for the next generation. As always, if you need anything from us, we're embarrassingly easy to find. Don't hesitate to reach out, and remember, no one walks alone.